Hey guys, Arleesha here and welcome to another video. Today I'm doing something that frightens me, it scares me, and I'm going to be practicing drawing expressions. It's not the practice that is scary to me, it's actually the sharing of the practice. And before we talk about why that is frightening to me, I want to tell you a little bit about the character that I'm drawing and why I'm doing this. So this character, his name is Taryn, and he is mine. He is one of my characters, and he's one of the characters that I would like to eventually make a comic about. So he's one of 7 brothers, and they're brothers not because they're actually related, they just all live together in this magical, timeless place that I won't talk too much about now, but hopefully I'll just be able to tell you more about them in the future. Anyway, I'm practicing drawing some expressions because it's not something that I do very often, and I tend to run into the same problems when I do try, which is part of why this is so scary. There are some things that I feel relatively comfortable and confident with, working with watercolors and gouache most times, and creating sort of surreal finished paintings. That's something that I understand the rhythm of, and I know how to do that and make it happen. And you would think that drawing characters, things like this, wouldn't be that far off or wouldn't be that much different, but the process and the flow of it feels so different to me, and I definitely don't have as many hours in working on this sort of thing. So it feels to me as though in sharing a video about this process, I'm sharing something with you that I'm not as good at, and that's scary to me because I feel like I have kind of put pressure on myself to create a certain caliber of art or video with you guys, and if what I'm doing doesn't match up to that standard of quality, I worry for things I definitely don't necessarily need to worry about, but I do. Will you guys like this content? Will it be interesting to you? Will my videos get views? You know, all the standard things that a content creator might worry about when changing up the kind of thing they're doing. And it may not seem like that big of a change because we're still, you know, making videos of art-related stuff. I'm drawing in my sketchbook, something that I've done lots of times before, but the shift just feels super obvious to me, and I'm leaving in a lot of my mistakes and the times where I erase the same thing like 18 times and then, you know, redrew it, just so you guys can see a bit of the struggle I was having. Some of the issues I was having while working on this challenge. By the way, overall, I'm really glad that I did this, and I want to fill pages and pages and pages and pages in my sketchbook of things like this because I know that's how I'm going to get better. It's how I've gotten better at other things, and that's how I'll get better at this, is just practice. The primary issue I was running into while working on this was I found that by changing the expression, I was changing how I drew certain features. So primarily in the eyes, I was changing, when I changed the shape of them to adapt to the expression, I found that the style was changing. And in the end, it kind of made it feel to me like every face looked like it was drawn in a slightly different style. When I was drawing these, for the most part, I find the best way to, you know, work out an expression is to take a reference picture of myself making the face or to have a mirror nearby. So I'm making angry faces, you know, into my phone camera or sad faces and, you know, just drawing from that. Sometimes it can also be helpful to look up reference images online, and that can be helpful over always using yourself because I don't necessarily want to unconsciously make my characters look like me because I want them to look like themselves, which was partially successful in this exercise. Overall, I'm pretty happy with what I did here. I know I still have a long ways to go, but there were definitely some instances where if I wanted Taryn to look sad, his face got a little longer, and instead of just looking sad, he also looks older, which isn't really what I wanted. Or if I was trying to make him look angry, his features changed in a different way, and he didn't quite look like himself. So there's going to be a lot of fine-tuning that I'll need to do to figure all of this out, and I hope that you guys will enjoy joining me for the process. I'm not going to be making like a full 180-degree turn to only making content about my characters and comic type things, but it is something that I'm slowly going to be spending more time on. Who knows when I'll actually have a comic that's available to people? It could be years yet, but I want to share this sort of thing with you. It's really scary, especially because my characters and their story has been a very private thing that I really have only shared super openly with like my best friend, and she's kind of the only one who knows as much as I do about them. But other than that, these boys have mostly just been mine, and there's something really vulnerable and personal about sharing them with you, even though that's always been the goal. To be honest, that's why I started making art when I did back in 2016. When I first started wanting to learn how to draw, I did it so that I could make a comic. I didn't have this story in mind yet at that time. I was actually working on something different. But over time, this has been the story that I've stuck with the longest and thought about the longest. And so anyway, I'm going to be doing more work related to this alongside what I'm doing, and they're going to overlap in ways, and who knows. There are so many questions and so many things I don't know yet, but I want to share what I'm working on with you guys. And I want that to be what this channel is about. I don't want to get stuck into making just one kind of content. I just want this to be me sharing what I'm doing with art. As I was having trouble with the shifts in style, I felt like I was overcomplicating some of the features, so I wanted to try simplifying stylistically and just focusing on lines and curves. So I did a couple tiny examples in a really simplified style just to see if I could communicate the emotion with fewer lines, because I knew I was focusing too much on lots of details that I was kind of losing track of what I was trying to do and where I was trying to get to. Some of the examples worked better than others, and there are some that I like better than others. But anyway, it was just a big learning experience overall. I feel like if I did like maybe 10 more pages of this specific character with lots of different expressions and emotions, and of course I'm only drawing his head here, so once you start to include body language and hand gestures, there's just so much to think about. And I'm a little bit scared about the idea of, it feels like a step backwards as far as skill-wise, because I have to back up and learn fundamental aspects of doing this, of drawing characters in a slightly different style, a little bit more simplified for the purposes of a comic. I'm not creating sketches that I'm going to be painting in watercolors and fully rendering or anything, so it's a different mindset, and I'm a little nervous about, you know, having to take those step backward and having to take the time to learn fundamental things. But it's important to me. This is what I want to do. This is what I've always wanted to do. And I hope you guys will be able to enjoy it with me as well. I know I've been rambling a lot and kind of losing track of what I'm saying, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to communicate. I'm excited to share bits of these characters with you. If you're interested in seeing them more often or seeing little bits about them more frequently, I do have a side Instagram account where I'm only sharing them and bits of their story. So I will link that Instagram account down in the description if you're interested. Oh boy, this is scary. It's scary to kind of open this door and share more of this with you guys, but maybe it doesn't have to be that scary. I'm sure I'll look back on this in like a year and say, oh my goodness, I can't believe it. You know, it took me so long just to get to this place that I've always wanted to be in. And of course, we'll still do paint things and watercolor things, and you know, all kinds of stuff is still going to be going on. But I do want to also spend some time with these things. I actually really liked the last one I did. Definitely my favorite stylistically, and I like the subtle emotion that I was able to kind of fit in there. So I feel like by the time I got through all, 9 of these heads, 9.5 if you count the one that I started and then failed, you know, once I got to the 9th head, I was finally starting to get somewhere. So it definitely takes time, and I'm happy to even have one on this page that I really like. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Okay, hold on just a second. I thought this was going to be the end of the video. I had even exported and uploaded it to YouTube and shared this version with my patrons for early access, and I was just feeling not 100% satisfied with the video. So I wanted to show you guys a couple extra things, because while I did do these sketches in my sketchbook, I've actually primarily been drawing these characters digitally, and I wanted to share a couple of those sketches from Procreate with you guys. So it's time for a little bit of bonus footage and some insights. So in working on these digitally, I have a lot more freedom to manipulate tiny little details that can be kind of annoying or frustrating to change traditionally. I love just sitting down with a pencil and some paper to work on sketches, but digitally it allows me to tweak little things and see how small changes make a big difference. And I think when it comes to drawing expressions, that's kind of a huge deal, because that's really how you get those subtle little differences between someone who is looking happy and someone who's actually smirking a little bit like they know something that you don't. There are very, very subtle differences in those expressions. So doing this digitally allows me to tweak, just the slant of the eyebrows a little bit, or the squinting of the eyes, or the positioning of the mouth in tiny little ways that I think helps to better communicate those emotions. I also wanted to show you some of the stylistic breakthroughs. That sounds dramatic to say, but the things I've been learning about style in doing these things digitally. Something happened when I was drawing Neris, the second time lapse, where something just clicked stylistically. I took the time to look up some references and look up some anatomy and make subtle changes to how I was rendering some of the features. And for me, the difference is kind of night and day. I prefer that one so much more. And then by the time I moved on to the third one I'm showing you here, this is Phoenix, I was so much happier with the style and the progression. So it feels like big steps forward are happening, which is really exciting. Okay, I just wanted to show you some of that digital progress real quick. I know it's kind of a weird way to end a video, but I hope you guys enjoy this little piece of my heart that I'm sharing with you. It's really scary to be putting my thoughts and characters out there in this way, but it's what I've always wanted to do. Anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Okay, bye.